One of the things that you got to look at when you're fishing in the summer, especially when you get into July and August, is schooling bass. And schooling bass are fish that are actually usually out in the very middle of the lake. They're hitting shad that are usually fairly small, sometimes a little bit bigger, but they're out and they're just gorging themselves on these shad. They can be really easy to catch, or sometimes they can be somewhat finicky. There's some different baits you try. A lot of times, if they're not biting that good, you just keep going smaller, you keep going smaller, and you keep going smaller. What I start with generally is a topwater. This is a Sexy Dog. I might throw a Sexy Dog Junior. Something that I can get out there. Now, one key with this is you want to really be able to cast these baits a long way, because sometimes they'll come up a long way from you, sometimes they'll come up right under your boat, and so you're never really sure. This rod, it's a jerkbait topwater rod. It's a perfect rod set up for throwing a topwater, and I can get a ton of distance out of it. A lot of times that distance will give you that fish when you can throw it right into him. You just got to come right through the center of them. If you don't come right to the center, you're not getting it. Nice fish, but you can sure tell the difference of ones that have been chasing shad. Another bait that you can throw is a jerkbait. Now, a jerkbait, this is a Strike King J200. This bait right here is very erratic in the water, and when you see this bait work, it's just dart, 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 dart. It's back and forth, back and forth. Now, what happens with this bait is those fish, they can't see it all that good. They just see that darting and then they just attack it. If you look at the bait, it's a pretty clear bait. That bait's It's not very dark color. It's got a little chartreuse stripe, so they can barely see something, but that bait's fairly clear. A lot of times schooling fish, you can catch a lot more on clear baits. I had a couple different bites right there, and that fish finally gets it. And you know, there's some grass right there. Kind of a fat little guy. Not great big, but it doesn't bother me. One other bait that I really like to throw, and it's a Rage Swimmer. This is a little small swim bait, 3 3/4 inch swim bait. And what you do with this bait, you put it on a jig head and basically you just reel it in. It's not a bait you try to be erratic with. It really mimics what bait fish look like. And so when it swims through the water, that tail just kicks back and forth. It's got a really good action. You know, schooling fish can be really fun. You can catch them on a lot of different baits. The thing you gotta have is clear water. If you're on a clear water lake, fishing in the mid to late summer, keep your eyes open for fish that are blowing up, fish that are blowing up on top. Some lakes you can catch some big fish on top, but a lot of times you can at least get some great action. It's a lot of fun. Try schooling bass. Another schooling bass. Pretty awesome, 2 1/2, 2 3/4.